Hello, I'm Ricardo Abad. I am a professor here at Ateneo, and I teach sociology and theater arts. My theater life began very early, and then it developed when I went to the Ateneo grade school and joined what is now called the Ateneo Children's Theater. Probably it was still called the Ateneo Children's Theater then, but I didn't know. In high school, I joined the Glee Club, but not the theater, because they did not accept me. I auditioned for Hamlet and I was refused. So I had to wait until I got to college to get my revenge, which I did, happily. Revenge is sweet. Of course, in private life, in the home life, me and my siblings always did some sort of performance. Every Sunday, we would gather all the kids and the cousins, and we would do numbers. Some would sing or recite a poem, and all the performance things. So very much me and my sisters and brothers were always into some sort of performance. They didn't go to the theater, but it was me who took the step and to join the groups and things like this. In college, there was a dramatic guild, but I don't know how they chose. I just joined an audition once and with Rolando Tinio, and before I knew it, I was in his place. And that's how it began formally. My experience with the Teatro Filipino has been like a bubble. It's a bubble because I went there in the evenings after class. I would drive from here to CCP and rehearse, and then come back late at night. And in the whole theater world then, this was about the 80s, there was Buluangan Timpala, of course, there was PETA, there was Rep. But we didn't really get a chance to, interact with all the other people. I only heard them. I know Tony Espejo, I know a few people there, but we were in a bubble. We were just among ourselves. We weren't even encouraged to watch and mingle. So it was very concentrated among us. So also the next thing is that in that bubble, Rolando sought that we did not have egos as actors. And one way he showed that, or two ways he showed that, was one, in the poster of the play, he would put the title of the play and the author and the dates and the author, maybe the director, but he would not put our names. So in all posters, we didn't have any names. So nobody really knew us. And not only were our names excluded, he hardly gave praise to all of us after a show. Maybe collectively, okay, fine, but never individually, and never even as a group profusely so. You never know whether you were okay or not, all right? And many actors are fed this diet of you're good and congratulations and stuff like that. We didn't have that because after a show we would dress up, leave, or go and wait for Rolando, and we'd go to a restaurant and we'd talk about the play, but never really how good you are. So that's one thing, no egos. You never knew you were good. You had to build, in other words, you had to find your own kind of radar to know whether you did well or not. And of course today it's quite different because the young people, when I work with young people, they're always eager to know whether they're good or not. And the reason for that is, if you keep being praised, you begin to think you're already good. All right, so Rolando's point was, you're all right, but there's still room to grow. And I'd like you to find that room to grow and grow some more as an actor. And true enough, when I saw videos of my performance in Teatro Filipino, I always said, I could have done better than what I have seen. That's why now I don't like to see myself on video. Even this one, even your video, I don't like to see this because I will be embarrassed at the way I sound, at the way I speak, at what I said, and things of the sort. You become very, very highly critical. The other thing is the sense of intelligence in the whole production. And Rolando was the example, and he would just be giving the best part of my work, of my stay in Teatro Filipino, was not so much the plays. What was wonderful was the interaction with Rolando, with Ella, with the other senior actors when we sat together usually at the end of a show. We'd all go to a coffee shop and have tea or coffee or dim sum or something. And then they would just chat about random stuff about things, about minimalism, about intelligence, about sense of control, about focus. Once Rolando invited, I had my TA group, and I said, hey, you guys, I want you to meet Rolando Tinio because, you know, he's such a great theater person, and you must meet him. Besides, we're doing one of his plays. We're doing the boxes. So I said, Rolando, can we go visit you? He said, sure, sure. So we went out to Rolando, got to visit him with five or six of my TA people, and we out there, and they gave us merienda. Rolando said, come, let's watch. I'll show you a VHS or a Betamax at the time. And when he played the Betamax or the VHS, we thought it was going to be theater. You know what it was? Ice skating. Championship ice skating. And as the show went on television, he was commenting. He was saying, look at the grace, look at the balletic qualities, look at the harmony between the two. He was pointing out what was so beautiful and aesthetically pleasing and about the excellence of that particular work. Indirectly telling you how this sort of teamwork on the stage will just be as magnificent if it is done theatrically as well. So that kind of indirect learning. But you see, the conversation was about, again, art and excellence and things like that. Every now and then, Rolando will need a ride home. I was driving a car, and Rolando lived in Tandangsora, and I lived somewhere there further on Commonwealth. And he said if I could hitch, if he didn't bring his car, in the car, he would then begin to talk again about ideas, because I was in sociology. He says, Ricky, I'm writing an article about so-and-so, about people in the city but are not acting like city people. Is there a concept like that in sociology? And I said, yeah. There's something called urban villagers. In other words, you're ruralite, you're a villager, but you live in the city, so you have the disposition of a rural person, but at the same time, some qualities that make you adjust to city life. And sometimes he would just call on a weekend, says, Ricky, can I go have pizza? I just want to talk about this new article I'm writing for the, I don't know what magazine, what newspaper that was, and I was going to talk about that. And then he would say, did you read my latest poetry book? And I said, I read a few poems. I don't know if you notice it, but that's the kind of poetry I've been longing to write for 20 years. What is that style? And he said, you know, it's like a poetry that has the structure that's like jello. You know, it's there, but it's not solid. I don't know what that meant, all right? But it seemed like a very intriguing image to have about a poem and words that sort of moves about, that shakes, but it's not so strict and firm. And maybe that's why it doesn't rhyme, or maybe the lines are not uneven, or maybe it's not so in a form, it's not so strict, but it's there, pero buo siya. At buo yung damdamin. Baka ganong klaseng tula ang ibig niyang sabihin, no? Hindi ko alam. Once I told him, Ronald, why are you're using Tagalog, why are you using this style of Elizabethan costumes when in fact maybe you're using Filipino? Why don't you just push the envelope further and just use Filipino costumes instead? It's like the repertory people doing, let's say, a musical, hindi ba? A Broadway musical with a Broadway costume and Broadway singing. They could Filipinize it. But then, if you ask them, they say, well, we want the Filipinos to see how it would have been if they were in Broadway. I think Rolando had the same idea. I will do Shakespeare, even though it's Filipino, that's his push towards Filipinization, but the costumes will be, you know, Elizabethan. Because that's the way you would see it in Shakespeare's Globe Theatre or in the Royal National Theatre or the Royal Shakespeare Theatre. So, so that was, I think, the life with Rolando that I developed. I think one of the main difference, which I think now is slowly being challenged, is the auteur kind of theater. What I mean by auteur is that in previous productions, the director, the sole vision of a production lies in the director. So the director becomes the creative visionary of the play. And therefore everything, the set, the acting, the thing, goes into the hands of the director. That kind of director or production, which is really which is auteur, in the self vision, the sole creative vision of a director, is slowly disappearing. Now it's more collaborative, in many sense collaborative. One kind of collaboration is specialization. I will direct, ikaw mag-choreograph, ikaw mag-design, ikaw mag-music, ikaw mag-tech, ikaw mag-lights. At we will see how we will all go together. Maybe the director who has a say, but the others are allowed their said, and then they put it together. Okay? So now it's more like that. My other collaboration, another extreme, which I am trying now, it's the T and Sam, which is the creative force. Okay? I don't tell actors what to do. I simply facilitate and help them analyze what it is, give them the space, maybe put some beginning points, but then the actors themselves begin to develop what is to be. So again, this is an attempt that I think is very new, and I think something that is very healthy for the actor's creativity and for the designer's creativity to work in tandem with the director and actors in the creation of a piece. And also now, there is more like non-linear storytelling compared to before. But there's one thing that I think that we should really develop more, and that's playwriting. I know we have many playwrights, and we have many good playwrights, and every year we find very good playwrights and plays in the Virgin Love Fest and many other things. But there's one thing I notice about Filipino plays. We're in the paradigm of social realism. All right? Wala pa tayo sa realm of abstract something or a form which is a little bit more off and postmodern or deconstruction. There's a play that has been staged, that's already written. Ang lines ay asterisks and, I mean, how do you act asterisk? All right, but that's the whole point. That's the whole point of playwrights challenging actors and challenging directors and challenging designers to rethink the way we tell our stories to the public, to rethink the way we perform on stage. And it should happen, I think, in the schools. Because the other companies, they have to earn money, so they have to show what they're showing, right? But I think in the schools, when there's more time to experiment, I think this is where the firman should go, and this is the challenge for those of us in the schools to do so. I'm now forming a group of theater people in the schools, and I'm hoping that this association will foster that kind of thinking and foster that kind of discipline to get theater, to push theater a little bit more in the schools. Away from propaganda or away from partisanship, but really a way of trying to figure out how to express a concern in other ways. For instance, the use of object theater. How do we develop puppetry? Puppetry is not so developed in the Philippines. We have a few people doing puppetry, but it's a very viable theater form which has popular appeal but can be used for symbols and substance and things of this sort. Mime, a number of things, circus acts, all right? You know, if you do Hamlet in circus, or you do, a play, many possibilities can be done. So you look at beyond the thing. So the point I want to make is that now when I started the theater, these things were not known to me. I did not know about this. Only the subsequent years when I've been going around the world, trying to look at theater, reading more, figuring out, I see so many developments going out there. that I do not see here. All right? That I do not see here. All right? And it pains me that there's so much things going on around, all right, that we don't seem to catch on. Maybe it's because I'm just impatient, no? Or maybe I'm just getting bored what I see. I stayed with the performing arts, particularly with Ateneo, because in the theater, when you coach people and you go there in the middle of the night and things like that and discuss things, you get to know more people. I think one thing is that because I'm able to do my work as a teacher, to do my work in terms of trying to establish some sort of change in the way people think, not through classroom, but through something else. And not perhaps through art, but maybe through art and the way I can communicate with people. All right, I found it there in the performance. Parang to me, the plays are an excuse for that ability to enter a world of interaction with students who you're introducing new ideas and changing lives.